Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Insider here on VegasInsider.com. I am Kevin Rogers along with Thom Cunningham, and today we're going to get to baseball and NBA, but the NFL, with its big schedule release party, but apparently the schedule has already been released for week 1, so we know that. We don't know week 13 yet, but we know week 1.
Give the people a little tease.
I know, right? So we'll find out at 8 o'clock. Everybody's going to know the schedule already, but we're going to go over the week 1 odds. They've already come out through DraftKings. First, though, before we get to that, I want to remind you, as always, about our Daily Insider contest, our daily contest from the Daily Insider. And basically what you do is you put down your Vegas Insider user ID, also a best bet for today's action. No live bets, no crazy tennis minus 10,000 bets, none of that. It's got to be something legit. And also no future bets either. And you put down your ID, you put down your best bet for today. You put that in the comments section below this video. And the reason we want your user ID is so we can identify you.
All right.
Okay, so you're not just like Joe Blow 1. We know if your user ID is Joe Blow 1, then that's fine. But if your YouTube ID is Joe Blow 1, that doesn't help us at all. So put that down there. You'll be in the drawing to win a free week's worth of handicapper picks, about $100 value, so it's really a good value.
Yeah.
And you can select the one handicapper you want, not all of them, but just one. And our marketing team will get in touch with you if you're the winner. Remember, it's a drawing, so if there are 10 people and 10 people won, not all 10 are going to win. It's going to be one person that's going to win. And you have to win your bet, too. You can't just put your pick down there and say, oh, I won, but you lost. So if you do not have a user ID on VegasInsider.com, it's very easy. Go to register, the big yellow box in the right-hand corner, upper right-hand corner, free membership. Register now. Click on it. Boom. ID, password, fill all that out. It's all free. Do that register button, the big yellow button that says register. You cannot miss it. So we made it like that so you can find it. All right.
All right.
All right, Tom. Let's do this. So let's look at
NFL.
Let's click at Tom Brady. The schedule release is out for the NFL, and week 1 odds are out via DraftKings. And let's look at some of them now. In case you're just joining us and you have not seen the matchups A or the lines B, we have both of them here for you. Okay, so we begin with Tampa Bay and Dallas. That's the first game to kick off the NFL season on September 9th, and that's the Thursday game at Raymond James Stadium where they had the Super Bowl last year. Bucs routed the Chiefs, and now Bucs Cowboys, so Skip Bayless will have a lot to talk about for the next 6 months about this matchup. But we're not going to go through every individual matchup. We got a lot to get to, but we'll just kind of run through it. But let's start with Dallas and Tampa Bay, though, Tom.
Yeah.
And the Bucs, a 6.5-point favorite in this one. Last few seasons, I know I pulled up a small sample size, 2-2 for the home team in that Thursday night game. One of the losses, the Patriots with Brady against the Chiefs, they got blown out at Gillette Stadium 2017, so never just a guarantee. I think for years it went well where the home team won that first game, but this time around it's kind of split the last few years. But any thoughts on what you saw there with Tampa Bay and Dallas?
I think the spread's a bit high. I do think Tampa's going to win. I just see this being a 4 to 3 point game, maybe 24-20 final in favor of the Buccaneers. There's still a lot of questions I have with Dallas's defense. That's why I'm a little, skittish on if they're going to win or not. I think Tampa is good enough to win at home, but the Super Bowl hangover, there's a lot of young players on that Tampa Bay defense. And you have the Tom Brady mindset in there of humble pie. Look, we just won a Super Bowl. Who cares? We're running it back. You need to be focused. You have that professionalism out of Brady. So whether he can tap into the young defense of Tampa Bay and kind of bring them back down to earth a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be even Brady. It could be another veteran on that team. It could be someone on the defense for that matter. But the studs of Tampa Bay's defense are very young. So I want to see how they come out week 1 handling the fact that they have just been crowned champions. And Dallas is looking to urgently get better quickly. So I expect them to bring it on that Thursday night game. I like Tampa to win, but the spread I'm not sold on yet. I like a 4 or 3 point spread as of right now.
On Sunday, a couple of the key games, Pittsburgh and Buffalo. That's a pretty good one there from what's it called? Rich Stadium, New Era Field, or Bill Stadium, whatever it's called now. But yeah, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. Also, Chiefs and Browns, another big game coming up in the opener. on that Sunday and the Chiefs laying 5.5 in that playoff rematch.
The one that stands out to me, though, is Denver at -1.5. And the reason I say that is because they're on the road against a team that I think is better than them. I think odds makers are really, really playing the odds in terms of Aaron Rodgers being in Denver. And Denver actually has the 5th or 6th highest Super Bowl odds right now, which is insane. So just keep that in mind with these early odds. Odds makers are looking like they're banking on Aaron Rodgers playing for the Denver Broncos.
Because look at Green Bay, New Orleans, and you have no odds for that, obviously, because you don't know what Aaron Rodgers' situation is.
Right.
If he plays for the Packers, if he goes to the Broncos, and like Tom said, that if you have that. And what's funny is right before we came on the air, we saw on FS1 they were already promoting the game of the week.
Yeah.
Week 1, and it was the doubleheader on Fox's Green Bay, New Orleans, and Broncos Giants.
Yeah.
And you said, oh, well, why are they promoting Broncos Giants? If Aaron Rodgers ends up going to Denver,
Then
now you got Broncos Giants. You better believe it's a Buck Aikman game that they're going to have that one in New York to start the season. So, again, hard with a couple of these games. Even that Jacksonville-Houston game where in years past, it would be just another game, who cares? A, it's the only divisional matchup in Week 1, which is very interesting. But B, Jacksonville's a short favorite with Trevor Lawrence making his NFL debut. You don't know the Deshaun Watson situation in Houston, so who would ever thought the Jags, the number 1 pick in last year's draft, or this past year's draft, would be favored on the road to start the season?
Yeah, and honestly, I do like the 1.5 because it doesn't seem like, I mean, even if Watson, at the minimum, will probably be suspended for 2 to 4 games. This is something, we brought this up also before we came on. Zeke got, 6 games or something like that for what he was going through. And this just, to me, I could be wrong. I don't know. This just seems, I mean, it's, what do we have, 22 accusers now for Watson or something in that nature, above 15. So I don't see how, in any way, shape, or form, Watson takes the field Week 1 Sunday for the Houston Texans.
Some of the other games, I guess the change of quarterbacks, Jared Goff now with the Lions, and they're a 7.5-point dog against San Francisco. You don't even know who's starting at quarterback in that game. If it's Garoppolo or if it's Trey Lance, the pick out of North Dakota State. Also, Matt Stafford and the Rams favored in that Sunday night game against Chicago. And the Rams, they blew out the Bears last year on Monday Night Football, and they also beat the Cowboys to start the season on Sunday Night Football to open up SoFi Stadium. That's where the Super Bowl is coming up this season.
Yeah.
But that seems a little rich there for the Rams, considering Chicago's quarterback situation. We still don't know if that's an Andy Dalton show in the first game. I highly doubt Justin Fields is going to start the opener.
Yeah, and it becomes a balancing act if you're Nagy, because you are on the hot seat, your GM is on the hot seat, and you got to get good fast. But to that, you're going up against, I would argue, top 2 to 3 defense in the NFL. Prime time on the road. It's very difficult for Justin Fields to just come in and start this game. But if I'm Matt Nagy, I might entertain the idea more so than originally thought, only because, he's going to have to start at some point this year. Week 1, against a tough opponent on the road, sometimes tough love is the best form of love, and I think there is some value for Fields starting this game. He might get demolished, but it's better to get these tough road primetime games out of the way early, and then he can kind of learn from there. But again, Nagy's got to keep his job, so it's going to be interesting to see how he balances Andy Dalton and Justin Fields this year.
The Monday night game, you only have one this time.
Yeah,
it used to be in years past, you had the 2 games, you had the 7 o'clock and like a late night 10:30 game or 10:15 game, which would always involve the Raiders or the Chargers or the Cardinals or someone like that. This time it involves the Raiders, but they're playing in the standalone Monday night game against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and Baltimore, a 5.5-point favorite on the road. Now, for the Raiders, they missed the playoffs last year, first year in Vegas, first year at Allegiant Stadium, in which you had no fans there. They built this brand new stadium in Vegas. They were so excited about this, and yet no one was there. But if you remember, their first primetime game that the Raiders had was Week 2 against New Orleans on Monday night, and they beat the Saints as a home dog. So just throwing that one out there. But again, Baltimore goes on the road. They take on Vegas, so it'll definitely be a hyped atmosphere there for the first real home game in Vegas for the Raiders.
It's going to be a party, a straight party in Vegas. I don't know if you saw, they had the these like VIP party lounge seats behind the end zone, and it comes with like a jacuzzi, a full-blown bar, and a DJ. Like, you have your own personal DJ in these little areas. So the energy level for this game is going to go through the roof. And I don't know how many of those crazy Oakland fans who, wear the shoulder pads with the face paint are going to show up. But, I mean, it's going to be electric. And quite frankly, I can't wait for that game. Solely because it seems like it's going to be one big Monday Night Football party. Should be fun.
A couple other games of note to hit on before we look at some of the other stuff going on today. Sam Darnold, his first game as a Panther comes against the Jets. And that's not a mistake. I feel like, before Sam Darnold got traded to the Carolina Panthers, that you weren't going to see the Jets and Panthers in week one. It's like, oh, well, let's showcase this one out of the gate. So Carolina's laying 5 there against Zach Wilson and the Jets. And look, Sam Darnold wasn't proving much with the Jets. Now he's in Carolina, and Zach Wilson makes his debut. I mean, look, you can have several rookies making debuts here. Who knows that deal with the Dolphins and Patriots? I mean, Tua's going to go for the Dolphins, but is this going to be Mac Jones going for New England, or is that going to be a Cam Newton experiment again?
Well, you'll have to see what happens in preseason. Newton is very injury prone. It's unfortunate, but he's a big guy, so you got to hit him hard to take him down. So, over the years, his body has just been demolished. So I wouldn't put it by me if Mac Jones has to start week one, only because Cam Newton, he's a lot older now. His body is just much more fragile than it used to be. But there's no crazy drivers in Charlotte taking him out like it were in the past. As someone who lived in Charlotte, I can attest to that. So I think here you'll only see Darnold versus Zach Wilson storylines entering the Panthers and the Jets game. I don't expect Mac Jones to start week one, but again, if Cam Newton gets hurt, preseason, pulls a hammy, anything of that matter, you might see New England pull the trigger a little bit sooner than later. I think everyone knows that that's how Tom Brady ended up starting in New England, was Drew Bledsoe went down to an injury, and boom, they put Brady in. So I'm not saying Mac Jones is going to become Tom Brady, but with New England, it wouldn't be a shocker to see an injury-prone quarterback like Cam Newton get hurt. Boom, all of a sudden you have to throw Mac Jones in. So just keep your eye on the preseason games from New England this year.
And Carson Wentz makes his Colts debut against Seattle. That's a pretty intriguing line there. Washington favored against Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and you don't know who Washington's quarterback is. I mean, with the way things have gone, they brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yeah. You have Taylor Heineke out of Old Dominion. So
he played well in the playoff.
He did.
And look, Tampa.
He faced a
really good defense.
He faced the Super Bowl champion, the eventual Super Bowl champions. And here's the other one, too. I want to hit on one more, and then we'll move on. But Philadelphia and Atlanta. And the Falcons laying 3.5 there. Philadelphia, the brand new coach, Jalen Hurts, the quarterback. They bring in Devontae Smith. They get the Heisman Trophy winner from Alabama at receiver now. Philadelphia wasn't really good offensively last year. That seems like a really short line.
Yeah,
I know
it's
Atlanta.
The Falcons.
Still with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and now they have Kyle Pitts. Can you explain this to me?
Yeah, I can. They blow leads more than any other team in any sport. It doesn't matter. You could go from baseball to hockey to football. The Atlanta Falcons, I always say the best bet in the NFL to make is a live bet on the team losing to Atlanta at halftime. You're going to get plus value, and more than likely you're probably going to hit that bet. They can't close games out. It doesn't matter if their coach is Mike Smith, Dan Quinn, Jim Moore. It does not matter who the Falcons coach is. They have a tough time closing games out. So, when you see minus 3.5 for Atlanta, you'd rather see maybe something along the lines of 2.5, because Atlanta, even though they have a great offense, their defense typically keeps games close to a 4 to a 3-point game. At home, Atlanta's defense should be fine against Philadelphia, but there's a reason Atlanta is short home favorites against a bad team like Philly, and it's because they can't close games out. They're just unreliable in the eyes of bookmakers, and as someone who's gone to their home games since 2000, I can attest that it's more that I think it's cursed. The city has to be cursed in some way, shape, or form. But 3.5, I buy that. I understand why the odds makers are giving them such a short spread.
Just going through, just eyeballing this fast, I'm guessing Philadelphia Atlanta is the only game with 2 new head coaches. Looking through all of these games, I think that's the only one. Unless I'm missing one, but I think that's the only one. So I said the Eagles have a new coach, but the Falcons also a new coach too. So and that was always an interesting angle to play in the past.
The one thing with Atlanta, I will say, is their head coach now is offensive minded. Yeah. They have gone straight defensive minded head coaches for the last 2 tenures between Smith and Quinn. So, you might see a new Falcon team where if they lead at halftime, they actually don't take their foot off the gas pedal because that has been their weakness with defensive-minded head coaches.
So if you want to take a look at these lines, obviously after the live stream, you could find it on our NFL Arena. You can go to, you see it right there. There he is, Big Bad Tom Brady. You can click on that, and you can find out all the odds, and we'll eventually get more of the games coming in because a lot of these sports books are going to put out lines for a lot of these games.
Yeah.
I mean, if not week 2, week 3, and put those out there. So once those become available, we'll start to have them up. But at least we want to get the week 1 up. So if you want to check those out later, it's there, VegasInsider.com. Check out the NFL, and you'll find those week 1 odds. Okay, so let's take a look now at some Major League Baseball. And let's actually, you know what, Tom? Let's just look ahead to today instead of looking back at last night. I'm making the executive decision
That's
here.
fine.
All right, so you have a couple games starting. Let's see. 12:35 is, I just want to see if it was, you got 2.
Yeah, a couple.
Okay, so Orioles-Mets underway. Matt Harvey making his return to New York. I'm sure he got a nice little ovation there. I mean, he was the Dark Knight.
Who knows?
But Orioles blew that game last night to the Mets. They were up 2-0 late and lost to New York 3-2 in walk-off fashion. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, they start at 12:35 today, and Sonny Gray and Trevor Cahill on the mound. Reds routed the Pirates in the first game.
Yeah.
Pirates came back and beat the Reds last night. Now, Jesus, they're laying 175
That's a lot.
on the Reds. Whew.
Yeah. And the Reds have lost 10 straight road games when playing during the daytime on a Wednesday. So there's that trend there if you like Pittsburgh. But, I'm pretty big on Cincinnati still in this game. It's going to take a lot for me to bet on a team that is noticeably, not as good. Now, Sonny Gray taking the mound is also a difference for me. But the money line is too expensive, Kevin. I'm not touching minus 175 for that.
San Diego and Colorado play a doubleheader today, and you never see a 6.5 total at Coors Field, but obviously it's a 7-inning game. I don't think they played a 7-inning game at Coors Field yet since last year. I don't think so. I'm throwing that out. I feel like they haven't, but I'd have to double check, but we'll get our research team on that one soon. But Yu Darvish and John Gray in that first game. San Diego blew out Colorado last night. The big problem with the Padres now is Fernando Tatis Jr. is sidelined due to COVID issues. Eric Hosmer was also contact tracing.
Yep.
So you have a couple guys out for the Padres, and they played 2 games today, but you have Yu Darvish and John Gray there. Padres, like I said, beat the Rockies last night pretty soundly, and look, Yu Darvish has pitched really, really well since a shaky outing in the opener.
Yeah, and now San Diego has covered the run line, the minus 1.5 run line in 3 straight games when facing Colorado. But the run total has actually, even in a full 9-inning game, it's gone under in 4 of the last 5 meetings between these 2 teams. So, I think I would probably look towards either San Diego covering, even though some of their stars are out, or if you're a little, weary on that because their stars are out, under. Under has cashed in 4 of the last 5 games. So, I think that's the route you should take for this one.
Philadelphia and Washington. Last night, the Phillies pulled away. The Nationals had a chance in the bottom of the 7th. They were down 3-2. They had the bases loaded. Josh Bell, who came over from Pittsburgh, a couple of years ago was really good. He's been terrible this year for the Nationals. He's hitting below 150. And I know batting averages are down everywhere, but he's been terrible for the Nationals. He struck out the bases loaded last night, and the Phillies tacked on some runs. You have Zach Wheeler going tonight against John Lester.
Yeah.
And Zach Wheeler, I mean, talk about an up-and-down season. He had a great outing against St. Louis on the road, a complete game. The 8 innings are a complete game, beat the Cardinals. And then he dominated the Brewers his last time out at home. But he's also had some shaky outings, too, so you kind of wonder which Zach Wheeler you're getting tonight. Nationals were favored last night. Now the Phillies a nice favorite against John Lester, and Lester making his 3rd start for the Nationals. And look, we know Lester's towards the end of the line here, but this is where I wonder which Zach Wheeler are you getting, because he's been dominant a couple times, and he's been terrible some other times.
Yeah, it's like the Zach Wheeler from the Mets.
Yeah.
It's the same exact guy. Now, we always talk about the consistency issues of Philadelphia and their back-to-back issues. Phillies, they have lost 9 straight road games after winning on the road the game prior. And so if you do like Washington for plus value, I think you can take them. The consistency issues for me with Philadelphia, they're getting better. I'll say that, but it's still not there for me. So I see Washington at home with a serviceable pitcher. I mean, John Lester's at the end of his line, but he's still John Lester. I think there is some value in considering Washington tonight.
St. Louis and Milwaukee last night, you had a real burn if you had the under of 7. It was 1-1 going to extra innings, and St. Louis scored 5 in extra innings to win it 6-1. So you pushed on that 7, which, that's tough. It's a tough one with the new second base or the runner at second to start extra innings. It's not easy. So you got the Brewers and Cardinals again tonight. Brandon Woodruff, the ace of the Milwaukee staff, is a heavy favorite against John Gant. But this St. Louis team, though, Tom, look at what they've done recently. They beat Milwaukee last night. They swept Colorado. I know they're a bad road team, but St. Louis, they bounced back from losing the final 2 to the Mets, and the Cardinals have still been pretty good. And Milwaukee, they took 2 from Miami this past weekend, but the Brewers, though, again, I mean, I feel like I'm saying this about like every team in Major League Baseball. They're so up and down. Like, no one can be consistent.
There's no consistency.
None.
Anywhere.
Not even the Dodgers. None of these teams.
And then as soon as you think Oakland's consistent, boom, then they fall back down to earth. It's almost like the consistency comes. It's like the Sacramento Kings. It rains, it pours, except it's with every team in baseball.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting trend, though. If you want to go with Woodruff in the first inning, Milwaukee has won the first inning in 5 straight games when facing the Cardinals on a Wednesday, plus 255. To win the first inning. That is tremendous value right there. But if we're looking at head-to-head results, maybe go over here. The run total has failed to go under in 3 straight games played between both teams. And so I know Woodruff's on the mound. That might be a little difficult to maybe consider because he's a really good pitcher. But yeah, I like the fact that Milwaukee has won 4 in a row in terms of the first inning against the Cardinals. And they have the better pitching matchup on the mound, in my estimation. You can get much better value plus 255 if you're banking on Milwaukee getting a run in the first inning and Woodruff performing well enough. I mean, that minus 175, I wouldn't touch it at all.
The final National League game tonight, the Marlins and the Diamondbacks. Zach Gallen, who was drafted by the Marlins, traded to Arizona, and he's been a really good pitcher for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And Arizona's won the first 2 of that series. They blew it open last night.
Yeah, they did.
And the home team now 5-0 in the 5 matchups this season. So we don't know who the Marlins starter is.
Yeah, 5-0. And Arizona has seen the home team win 9 straight games. So there's a lot to like about the Diamondbacks tonight. I know that they have minus 162 value, though. So, that's a tough one to pull the trigger on. And Arizona, they've lost the first inning in 3 of 4 home games on a Wednesday. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, the home team's won 9 in a row for Arizona. And like Kevin just said, between the 2 teams, 5-0 for the home team in the last 5 games.
And also, the Marlins are going to have a reliever by committee going today.
Okay.
They're saving Rogers. They're saving him for Thursday. So he's not going to go. That's why you don't have a pitcher listed yet.
And of these, so because the home team has won 5 straight games played between these 2 teams, the home team has been the favorite each time. And so the home team has covered the minus 1.5 run line in all 5 games, which, as you know, Kevin, you can get minus 1.5 run line for plus value. So Arizona minus 1.5 plus 138, maybe consider that instead of them winning straight up.
In the American League, you have the Royals and Tigers, and Detroit finally broke through against Kansas City last night. They got swept at Comerica Park earlier this season by the Royals. They couldn't score any runs. Last night they jumped out to a 7-0 lead on the Royals. Kansas City came all the way back, in case you missed it, in case you shut the game off. The 3 of you out there. The Royals scored 7 in the final 2 innings to tie it at 7. But then Detroit won at 8-7, so a little bit of a tease there by the Royals. But now you got Danny Duffy going tonight, and he has been excellent for the Royals. And Casey Mize, the former top pick, he goes for Detroit. But now you wonder if these teams will get some more offense earlier, or at least the Royals will get more offense earlier in the game, because Kansas City now. That? I think it's 9 straight losses for the Royals. They got swept by Cleveland. They got swept by Chicago.
9. Yep.
And they're still laying 140. They lost 9 in a row.
Yeah, I'm going under here. If I'm betting this, the run total has failed to go over in 4 or 5 meetings between these two teams. You know I love my boy Danny Duffy with the 4-2 record, 1.26 ERA this year. And Casey Mice, one of the best young arms now. His record isn't that good, but I mean he plays for the Tigers. His ERA is not too bad for a young arm. What is he, around like 3.5, 4 in the ERA range? So I like the under. In this one, like I said, it's gone. The run total has failed to go over in 4 of the last 5 games played between both teams. I just think with the arms on the mound in this one, I trust it going under, and the trends as well.
Oakland and Boston tonight from Fenway. You got Eduardo Rodriguez as a
Good
nice
pitcher.
favorite there against the A's. And look, like you talk about the A's, that they've been, again, up and down, up and down. They start the season 0-6. They had a 13-game winning streak, and then they had some struggles, here and there. But it's a tough game tonight, but Eduardo Rodriguez, he's, again, been the ace of this Boston pitching staff now.
I like Boston here. I like it. I love Eduardo Rodriguez. I think he's probably the most least talked about good pitcher in baseball. Like Marco Gonzalez for Seattle. Mm-hmm. He's very productive, but doesn't really get the respect. I throw Eduardo Rodriguez right in there. Now, Boston, they've won 9 straight games when facing the AL West on a Wednesday. -148, though. I don't know if many people are keen on taking -148. If you're not, consider the run line. Boston, a -1.5. They have covered that in 3 of 4 meetings against the Oakland A's.
Yankees and Rays tonight from St. Pete, and the Yankees finally broke through last night against Tampa Bay. They had a lot of problems with them. Yeah, they really needed that win. And Jordan Montgomery pitched well for the Yankees, and now you turn to Garrett Cole, laying 200 on the road, and Cole has had, it feels like the Jacob deGrom effect a little bit, where he's pitching well as a heavy favorite, but he's getting no offense. He's losing games 2-1, 3-1, right. And he's pitching well enough. But
in fairness, the Yankees aren't hitting in any game. I mean, even the win last night was 3-1. The Yankees have not scored over 4 runs in their last 3 games, and they've won all 3.
Yeah. They beat Washington twice in walk-off fashion, beat Tampa Bay last night, and look, the Yankees are coming back to life. And now it's just about getting the lineup to come around, which, it's getting there. It's not as bad as it was, but when Garrett Cole's going every 5th day, you got to win that game.
Yeah, I don't know if they will, though. If I was betting this, look, the Rays, they've won 7 straight games against the Yankees after losing the game prior. The underdog has won, I believe, 3 of 5 games played between both teams, but under. There's something about this Yankees team and going under the run line, or the run total, and it just seems like it's clockwork. Of the 35 games New York has played this year, 22 have gone under, and that's 3rd best in baseball of all the teams in MLB. So I might go under here, considering Garrett Cole's on the mound. It really comes down to how well Tampa can pitch against the Yankees in this game, and I think I'm going to give them the credit. They really haven't done anything to make me fade them when they play New York at home. This is even going back to the postseason. So I think I'll go under here. Give me the run total going under.
Twins and White Sox, they hook up in Chicago tonight, and the Twins were up early in that game. It was a 3-3 game for a while, and the White Sox busted it open. Now you got Dallas Keuchel against J. Happ, and the White Sox favored again here in this game tonight, where, look, Chicago, they have some of the best arms in baseball.
They really do.
One of the best rotations. Now what Carlos Rodon has done in the early going, and even Dylan Cease, who he's a number 5 in that rotation. If you can get good contributions out of him, this Chicago White Sox rotation is totally stacked compared to what some of these other teams have. And now they're favored again against Minnesota, and the Twins have been a complete disaster this season. But, now we'll see what they do after losing last night. Yeah,
I think you have guys like Keuchel in that rotation, it gives them the experience they need. Because I think the only concern anybody who follows MLB has with the White Sox is their experience. Can they hold 162 games at a consistent level, then go into the most highly pressurized situations and play well in those situations as well? So you have young arms like Lucas Giolito and Carlos Rodon that will be called upon in the postseason. they're going to kind of look towards guys like Dallas Keuchel to give them a little bit more veteran leadership and guidance when those months come. So this is a pretty big game. I know it's, what are we, in May? It's the middle of May. You're facing a team that's been underachieving against a pitcher who's not very fearsome in J.A. Happ, and you're at home. This I'm going to be watching very intently to see how the White Sox do play. They've won 4 of their last 5 games against Minnesota. They've covered the run line in 4 of their last 5 games against Minnesota, and the run total has gone under in 4 of the last 5 games played between both teams. So consider those trends when betting this game.
Angels and Astros, the final American League game tonight, and you have Jose Urquidy against Andrew Heaney. And Andrew Heaney, he struggled a little bit. Now you're getting him as a dog. You don't get him that often as a dog. And Urquidy is a guy that the Astros put in the rotation last year with all the injuries, with Verlander out, and obviously the departure of Garrett Cole. So there's a lot of young guys behind Zach Greinke in that Astros rotation. But the Astros, they've turned it around after they had that skid earlier in the season, but they had a couple of their big bats out of the lineup, and now laying 125. The Angels could be worth a look here because Heaney, this guy is due to pick up a good performance.
Yeah, last night I recommended the run total going under with Shohei on the mound. It went barely under. 6 total runs ended up going under. The run total has gone under in 3 straight games now between the two teams. Also, keep in mind, Houston has gone under in 6 of 7 divisional games, so I like the run total going under for this one.
All right, we're going to skip Orioles-Mets since they just started. Cubs and the Indians, the World Series rematch from a few years ago. Shane Bieber and the Indians beat the Cubs last night, and now you got Zach Davies going for Chicago. And look, Davies, he's struggled. He really has. He had a good year a few years ago with Milwaukee, but
that was about it.
Yeah, he's really struggled here. Now they're a dog against the Indians, who Cleveland has really played well, and they had Cleveland's been dogged a bit because Francisco Lindor went to the Mets, and he really has done nothing with the Mets of any note. He signed a big contract. It's early, but he really has slumped. They lose Carlos Carrasco too, and look, you have the AL Cy Young winner in Shane Bieber. Lineup doesn't have a lot of big names, but the Indians keep winning. Like that, you got to give them that. They keep winning, and the Cubs just on the road, they've been dreadful at times.
The Cubs did lose, but they only lost by 1. And one thing I've noticed with these trends between these two teams is that the underdog has covered the plus 1.5 run line in 4 straight games between the two teams. So these games are very tightly close. So if you are a little bit weary on Chicago as a plus value as an underdog in this one, maybe look at plus 1.5 in that they covered that run line. But the Cubs have won 8 of 9 games when facing the American League on a Wednesday. I know Chris Bryant has shot up the MVP betting odds list because of how he's been playing lately. Now, Cleveland did win the game yesterday, but again, it was a 1-run game. So if you're wanting to take the Cubs in this one, I won't argue it because they have the trends and they have the value. But playing it a bit safer, going with the 4 straight games in which the underdog has covered the run line, I think that's a little bit safer. Cubs plus 1.5.
Toronto and Atlanta tonight, and the Blue Jays own the Braves. They've beaten them 4 times already this season.
Yeah, what's going on with Atlanta?
You can't figure them out. You really don't know. They beat the Phillies twice over the weekend. You're like, okay, they're back, and then they lose to Toronto. And Toronto's a good team. I don't want to take away from them. They're a good young team.
Good. No, they are.
But I mean, every former son or every son of every former All-Star is on the Blue Jays.
He's 3rd in the MVP odds list now, Vlad Jr.
So you have Vladdy Daddy, you have Biggio's son, you have Bichette's son, you have all of them with the Blue Jays now. But Max Fried, Hyunjin Ryu on the mound, and for Fried, he was great last year. Right. He struggled this year. He did win his last start against Washington, so maybe he's turning the corner a little bit. But
he has an 8 ERA.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad. And Toronto, look, they've had a good start to the season, and they've already faced the Yankees in 2 different series. They've already faced the Red Sox, so it hasn't been easy for them. But Atlanta, you're trying to figure out how you're going to be consistent. I'd lean Braves here. Just think they get back on track. But, man, I mean, Toronto's had their number, though.
Yeah, the Braves, the whole division has had Atlanta's number. The Braves have lost 7 of 8 against the AL East. Now, Toronto is the underdog here at minus value. So I'm not too sure if I want to take that for minus 105. I'm not too sure about that. Toronto has covered the run line in 5 straight games against Atlanta. However, they have won 4 straight games against Atlanta, as you alluded to, Kevin. Look, there's not a whole lot I like here. The Blue Jays, they've gone under 19 games this season. Atlanta, they've gone over in 18 games, so you have crossing trends there. Look, if you want to take a shot on Toronto as an underdog, feel free, but you're not getting good value in this game. This is one I pass on.
The late night game in interleague, it's the Mariners and Dodgers at Dodger Stadium, and LA rallied past Seattle last night.
They needed that so bad.
And they got the run line win. They've done that a few times this year, getting that run line win late when they were a huge favorite. And now they do it again tonight against the Mariners. Look, Mariners giving the Dodgers issues so far.
Everyone's giving the Dodgers issues.
Yes, fine. Touche on that one. But at least Seattle, though, they've lost 2 of 3 to the Dodgers, but yet they have been right there in every single game. And the Dodgers going to this heavy favorite at home.
I think there's some things you might like here, Kevin, for Seattle. So
tell me, give me a Wednesday trend.
It's not a Wednesday trend, but we have that. The Dodgers have lost 6 straight games as the favorite after winning the game prior. Seattle has won the first inning in 5 straight games when facing the Dodgers at night. Now, if you recall, we recommended taking Seattle in the first inning last night at plus 420, and it hit. Plus 410 again tonight. Feel free to go with the Mariners winning the first inning, but yeah, you're not taking minus 245 for the struggles the Dodgers have had. Even if they win that game, that's not a smart bet. It's not.
San Diego and Colorado's the second game of that doubleheader. It's at the bottom because it's a makeup game, but Blake Snell and Austin Gomber, who pitched well so far on the season. He wasn't great against the Cardinals his last time, that little homecoming against St. Louis. He was traded from the Cardinals to the Rockies in that Nolan Arenado trade.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, like 7.5, that's a high total for a 7-inning game.
And we just talked about how we like them going under in the first game. So, I mean, you get a bigger run line or run total for the later game. And I would argue really good pitchers, too. So, yeah. I like the run total going.
Yeah, Gomber has pitched well. I mean, Blake Snell, he's just another guy. Cy Young winner's been up and down. He's not been dominant this season.
Right.
And we'll see what happens in that game coming up later. Okay, so let's look at
basketball,
some NBA, and let's
also, if any of y'all have any questions, feel free to throw them in the live chat, and Kevin and I can answer them. Or if you want us to talk about something, just feel free to throw it in the live chat.
All right, let's take a look at NBA, and we'll run through last night quickly, because obviously at different matchups, baseball, we can talk about the same matchups. So, Miami beats Boston. We're gonna kind of run through these before we get to tonight's games.
Yeah.
So Miami beats Boston again, and the Celtics now, I mean, look, they're slipping fast as far as they're going to be in that play-in tournament likely, and the Heat trying to get in that, trying to still win the Southeast, but in that 4, 5, 6 range with the Knicks and with the Hawks. But Boston, no Jaylen Brown the rest of the way. And the Celtics, man, Brad Stevens should have taken that Indiana job.
He may have. Yeah, he may be.
They're paying you $100 million to be the coach of the Hoosiers. Should have done that instead of staying with the Celtics. But that's look, Boston's they got their issues now moving forward.
Yeah, no Jaylen Brown, and Miami is just they're really good on the road lately. I think they've now covered 4 in a row on the road, and they've won. I think
it's 6-1.
6, yeah.
It's either 5-1 or 6-1.
So Miami on the road. Look. Last year, the story with the Heat was they can't win on the road. Now they're covering on the road. Granted, Jaylen Brown was out for Boston, but just something to keep in mind. There is a trend right now for Miami on the road.
Clippers beat the Raptors again. We got late 13.5, but the Raptors had everyone out. I mean, they can't score at all. Memphis finally beats Dallas, and that was a close game early. Memphis opened up in the second half. That was a game, second end of a back-to-back for the Grizzlies after they barely beat the Pelicans the night before. They had back-to-back games. So interesting, Tom. Double revenge spots for Memphis on back-to-back nights at home against New Orleans, against Dallas. Barely beat the Pelicans, don't cover, but then they rout the Mavericks here. Dallas has already wrapped up the Southwest, so they're fine.
Right.
But Memphis, though, they still are in that play-in situation, and right now they would probably play the Spurs in that 9-10, which means you got to win 2 to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, and the thing with Memphis, look at their opponents, because as Kevin mentioned, Dallas is pretty much set, whereas the Pelicans are fighting for their lives right now. So look at, if you're going with the Memphis Grizzlies in these games, look at who they're playing, and not just Memphis for that matter, all the NBA. You got to be able to determine which teams are going to be giving full effort based off where they're positioned in the playoffs and which teams are going to be giving everything they have. So just bear that in mind. I think this was a good example of Dallas. Again, it started close, but as the game went on, Memphis pulled away. Dallas lost interest. Memphis is fighting for a spot. Dallas isn't. So just keep that in mind when betting these NBA games tonight and moving forward, really.
Elsewhere, Brooklyn beats Chicago. We'll see if James Harden comes back tonight for the Nets. The 76ers without Joel Embiid. Look at that. Look at that second half of the Sixers. 32 points.
That was a disappointing loss for Philadelphia.
Yeah, that was a bad one. Indiana, they're still in that mix there for the play-in tournament.
Again, though, a team fighting for their lives. They win at home against a team they shouldn't be. Just another example right there.
Yeah, and that's two wins last night, double revenge spots. Yeah. But you also had, let's see, Orlando had lost twice to Milwaukee. They covered the 15.
Of course, they covered on the road.
Hey, getting 15. That's time to cover. That's time to back the Magic. Is when they're on the road. Because at home they've been terrible. Oklahoma City did not get the double revenge win. No. They get blown out by Sacramento. But again, look at that third quarter, 41-18. Yeah. They were leading at the half, and then they fall apart. Golden State beats Phoenix.
Overtime, right?
No.
Oh, that was the Knicks.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah. But yes. 122-116. So the Warriors, look, man, they played well recently. Beat the Jazz at home, beat the Suns at home. That's a really good job by Golden State. Lakers now. No LeBron last night. They hope to get him back tonight against the Rockets. Laying 2.5. They barely cover. How many times you see a game go to overtime and stay under the total, and it wasn't even a crazy total. It was 210.
Yeah.
And it still got to 200 because you had a 38 and a 33 in the second half. So the Lakers, they end up winning, and they get the Knicks coming, or they get the Rockets tonight.
So the Julius Randle, he actually hit on the over 25.5 total points. He finished with 31. So maybe he's back to his 30-burger ways. We'll see. But again, the Julius Randle prop bet has typically hit in terms of his point scoring. So it hit last night, plus value. If you took him, good job.
Washington, Atlanta leads off tonight's games in the NBA. Second time they're playing in 3 nights. No Bradley Beal again for Washington. But that line's dropped a bit. Now laying 6.5 Atlanta after they held off Washington a few nights ago, and the Wizards still a big ATS machine.
Yeah.
They were terrible ATS to start. Now they can't. Now as a dog, they cover every game. It feels like it's still a high total. Yeah, 238.5. I do like the under. I know you're playing with fire with the Wizards, but I think you go under after that high-scoring game.
I like that. The under is hitting 3 of 5 between the two teams, so they do have a trend that says the point total can and should go under. Atlanta, though, at home, I think they're all right. They have won 8 straight games when playing at home. I don't mind Washington to cover, though. 6.5. Washington, like you said, they cover as underdogs. They've covered in 7 of 8 as the underdog. So I think there's a few things to maybe play around with in this one, but I think Atlanta at home should be fine in terms of winning straight up.
San Antonio and Brooklyn, the Spurs, they blew out the Bucks a few nights ago. That was an impressive effort, over 80 in the first half.
They needed that, too.
Yeah, and Pop trying to get the Spurs into that play-in tournament. Brooklyn, like I said, see if James Harden comes back. Kyrie Irving left last night, facial injuries. We'll see what his deal is tonight. Again, the Nets, they can't find a way to get all 3 healthy. James Harden misses all this time. Get him back together. Kyrie, something happens to him. So,
that's an elbow.
Yeah, who knows when? Who knows when they're going to get all these guys back? They have to get Steve Nash into play.
They might suit up Steve Nash. Yeah. My betting advice for this: look, the favorite's won 11 straight between the two, and you're looking at Brooklyn as a minus 200. It's really expensive. I do like a prop bet here. DeMar DeRozan to record a double-double is plus 365. He has seen a double-double in 4 straight games when facing an opponent from the Atlantic Division. Brooklyn's in the Atlantic Division.
Thank you. The Spurs, by the way, they lost to the Nets in overtime last time they played, so we'll see what happens this time. Boston and Cleveland, and I mentioned the Celtics' woes, and the Cavaliers, they've been god-awful.
Woes is a nice way of putting
11, but it's 11 straight losses and 1-10 ATS because they covered against Indiana. So now you're asking them to cover this 7.5. Boston beat Cleveland the first time, big at TD Garden, then Cleveland beat them last time at home. So now, if you take this game, Godspeed.
I'm not. I have nothing. Don't stay away from Boston, Cleveland tonight. Don't touch it. Just ignore it.
Yeah.
Pretend it's not there.
It's awful. Portland, Utah. Final regular season home game for the Jazz. They've beaten the Blazers by over 20 twice already this year. So you kind of wonder now what happens this time around.
Yeah.
Short favorite for Utah. Donovan Mitchell's still out. Conley's still out. Carmelo's supposed to play tonight for the Blazers, but Utah laying 2 against a team they've blown out twice. I would probably
like
tell you
that?
Portland's probably the play.
Yeah, well, Portland's won 8 of 9, so that could go either way there. Some prop betting I like. CJ McCollum has seen 5 or more assists in 5 games when Portland is an underdog. He has odds to go over 4.5 at plus 120. Also, Jusuf Nurkic, 14 or more points in 6 of 8 games. He has odds to go over 13.5 at plus 100. So there's some good plus value for some of the prop players, for some of the prop betting for the Portland players. A lot of P's there. It's a tongue twister.
New Orleans and Dallas tonight. That's a 9-10 start, and the Mavs off that loss to the Grizzlies last night. They got the Pelicans, who actually have been pretty competitive here down the stretch. And look, time's going to run out on them. No Zion, no Brandon Ingram. That they're just not probably going to make it. They dug themselves too big of a hole early, and they covered at Charlotte. They covered at Memphis as big dogs. They've actually been a really good ATS team down the stretch, and you're getting some value because those guys aren't playing. But and look, Lonzo Ball's leading them right now, and Dallas is kind of stuck in their seeding, if I'm not mistaken. They really have nowhere to go. So
they're just going to show up, make the paycheck.
Yeah, Porzingis is out. We'll see if Luka sits out tonight.
Well, it's interesting you talk about that because the odds have been taken down for tonight's game. I'm looking at DraftKings right now, and they're not up. So I wonder if there's something going on with the lineup, as you had just mentioned too. They're setting their seed. There's no Kristaps tonight. Luka, who knows? So I think definitely check the lineups for this game. I know that's a very cliche thing to say with the end of the season for any sport. Baseball, it doesn't matter. Hockey, basketball, always check the lineups. But this is especially true for tonight because the odds have been taken down. Dallas is set in a seeding position, so keep in mind Luka's one technical away from a suspension.
Yeah, and he had that flagrant foul too against Cleveland.
So if you're Carlisle, do you even risk putting Luka out there until the play? So there's a lot going on with Dallas. Be sure to check the lineups before betting this game.
Rockets and Lakers wrap up the night at Staples Center, and allegedly LeBron's coming back. Who knows?
We'll see if he was supposed to come back yesterday.
I don't know. We'll see. But Lakers got that big win over the Knicks, and the Rockets actually, the last few games, they've actually covered a few as a heavy dog against Utah and against Portland. So I don't know if it's as easy to say just lay the points with the Lakers with LeBron back. Remember the first game LeBron came back against Sacramento, they lost outright. So Houston is still, I hate to use this term, still trying down the stretch. I mean, they could easily pack it in. But with what they have, they're still hanging around in these games. They're getting a ton of points. Maybe the Rockets are worth a look here, just because the Lakers off this big win. And who knows what Anthony Davis' status is, too, if they want to sit him tonight.
Yeah, the thing that concerns me is that the Lakers have covered 6 straight against the Rockets. But, again, I guess
Harden the first 2 times was there.
The point total has gone under in 5 straight. So maybe you look into that regard a little bit, the point total going under. I guess if push comes to shove, I'll take the Lakers to cover, but I don't have a ton of conviction in it. And as you just mentioned, Kevin, Houston's they're not pulling a Detroit right now where they're just blatantly just, blowing games to get a pick. They're competing. So just bear that in mind, but if the spread worries you at all, go under with this one.
And even, we didn't mention this from last time, even Minnesota, they've cared. They played. They blew out Orlando and Detroit. They actually cared here down the stretch.
I like what they're going to bring next year. They should be exciting next year.
If they can just get one more play, they have D'Angelo Russell, they have Anthony Edwards, they have Karl Anthony Towns.
Right.
If they just get one more really good player, maybe try to get a high pick in the lottery, then maybe they'll turn the corner. So that's a look at tonight in Major League Baseball and the NBA, and also. We talked about the NFL, the Week 1 odds. You can find them on our homepage here. Look at Tom Brady. Click on the odds. NFL Week 1. Also find out on our NFL Arena. And don't forget, you can buy picks for NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL. Go to the Buy Picks page. $29.95 per handicapper. And the picks are up there for today. You can purchase those. Also, the guaranteed picks, $39.95. And basically, it's only one pick a day. So best bet for each handicapper. If it wins, you pay the $39.95. If it loses, you pay nothing. So simple as that. Pay after it wins. Now, if you want to join our contest, our Daily Insider contest, where you leave your Vegas Insider user ID and your best bet for the day, you drop that in the comments underneath this video. And if you don't do it right this second, you can do it An hour from now, you can do it whenever. Just do it before the game starts. Don't all of a sudden say, I like Orioles, Mets, I'm going to jump in the middle of the game right now. Don't do that. But if you don't have a Vegas Insider user ID, go to register, the big yellow button here in the upper right-hand corner. Free membership. Register now. It's free. User ID, password, create all that email that gets us in touch with you. And if you are the winner for today in the drawing, if you are the winner, then you win a week's worth of handicapper picks, $100 value for one handicapper for 7 days. So check that out. Our marketing team will get in touch with you. And yeah, you have to win your pick too. That's the other thing. You can't just put a pick up and lose. So, with all that being said, I am Kevin Rogers. That is Thom Cunningham. And we will talk to you again tomorrow. And Tom, why don't you lead us out?
Good luck with your bets. Go out there, make some money. And until next time.